What's up, guys? Kane here. I've got another 1v1 for you. This time it's Flipstip and Fealthas on a hide and seek. Should be a pretty good matchup. We're going to see Flipstip here in the northeast. He has this green Cloakybot Factory recon commander as well, and a red Cloakybot Factory in the southwest here from Fealthas. So another Cloaky matchup, Cloakymere, I should say. Going to be, looks like, pretty aggressive openings I would expect here. No, it looks like we are going to see an early constructor there from Flipstip. Hopefully going to see one pretty quick from Fealthas as well. Looks like, yeah, there is the early constructor there. So definitely an economic start from both players. Very early constructors. Small force of glaives here heading out from Flipstip. And of course, this is a very economic map by my reckoning anyway. There's quite a few metal extractor places. And one really interesting thing about this map, and the reason I've sort of taken an interest in this map in particular, is that most of the metal extractors or mech spots seem to be concentrated out here on the periphery of the map, on the outside, so you actually move away from your opponent to get most of the economy. There are some super mexes here, but yeah, like I said, it's in order to capture them, you're actually moving away from your opponent. So a few glaives coming in here, going to do very well to tear apart that defender after taking a salvo, taking out this metal extractor as well, and getting chased away maybe by this glaive here, but some retreat micro working out very nicely for Flipstip. Ultimately going to win this engagement, should be able to get away with this glaive here. Manages to stomp some of the reclaim as well, which is always a nice little thing to tack on there. Pretty efficient glaive, almost completely recharged. I'm always blown away by how quickly those things regenerate health. A glaive here from Fealthas sneaking around the back, maybe trying to camp out here on this mex. Yeah, looks like that is the case. Maybe heading in here in a moment just to sort of poke around, see what the layout of the base is like. This constructor's going to be moving out now, heading down to the south to grab this metal extractor pretty quickly. I thought I saw a constructor come out earlier from Flipstip. It might have just been idling over here. Going to be interesting to see the expansion strategies here. That's one thing I'm always really confused about myself, sort of where do you head from your base. It's pretty quick to capture this mex right here. 2.7, that is quite a bit. Most of these mexes here around your base actually 1.3, so not worth very much at all. Looks like you pretty quickly want to head out to the periphery, and you really want to chase these super mexes here. There's 1, 2, 3, I believe, for each player. One on the hill. Not quite a super mex, but relative to the rest of the mexes on the map, I guess. Pretty close. A couple of light engagements out here on the periphery. These quarter mexes here, like I said, very important to capture them quickly. Well, here's another kind of big one. So it's really weird where the larger mexes are laid out. It seems like the smaller ones are clustered and then the larger ones are just individual mexes. Out on the periphery, I might be paying a bit too much attention to that. Mostly just some light pokes with glaives from either players so far. Definitely going to see a lot of Raider play. It's just so hard to pork out on this map. I feel like even Fealthas, who's typically a very defensive player, I guess there's a bit of a trail of defenders here hanging out from his base. I wonder if he's laid out defenders already to build. He is going to be pushing defenders out onto the ridge, building some radar up here, and then heading out to the west. Another light engagement. Flipstip making sure to keep his glaives paired up so far. A small line of glaives heading out to the east as well, to sort of screen, see if there's been any expansion out this way. Neither player capturing this super mex on the hill here. You can see very much uncaptured for both players. In fact, Flipstip is just now making it out to this mex on the hill. Economically, Fealthas has had a slight lead, actually pretty significant considering that Fealthas has actually been, looks like e-stalling a little bit. Flipstip has been e-stalling, I meant to say. Really does need to get some solar collectors up pretty quickly, especially if he's planning to build this mex as well. Where's his commander right now? It looks like he's just built some energy, some LLTs. Yeah, he looks like he's back on track now, but was definitely e-stalling for a bit there. Actually capped at like 11 metal, so we are seeing a bit more rapid development from Fealthas, I believe. This glaive racing to take out that defender, and now this metal extractor pulling away before it gets taken out by that commander. Very nice save. So lots of glaive harassment, just as predicted so far. Probably going to be seeing this for, quite a while. Neither player has actually made it out to this periphery to expand quite yet. It looks like Fealthas is hanging out there right now. It's interesting to note that Fealthas has actually placed defenses around every single one of his expansions so far. There's not a single mex here that's uncovered. And I believe the same is true for Flipstip as well, so neither player naked expanding quite yet. I think there's quite an advantage you could get from naked expanding, but I think it's a foolish move against experienced players that we're seeing here. Fealthas actually making sure to come up and screen this corner here, checking for any expansion, and actually camping out there, waiting, anticipating this constructor here to come down to the northeast. I'm not sure if he knows that there's a constructor here, but he has one of his own on the same path, which is a pretty good way to make predictions if you're playing against an evenly matched player. Another larger force of glaives hanging around the north here. I guess since Fealthas knows there's nothing out here, he's probably assuming that this approach is undefended. I believe he'll be heading up this way. That does look like it's his plan. Actually, Flipstip has a set of glaives here lying in wait for just such an occasion, I would imagine. These are actually very far back as far as, that's a pretty large force. You typically don't want those hanging out safely behind your lines. You want them to be attacking. But then, in this case, they were defending this mech, which was ultimately a good call. Fealthas does pull away these glaives before overcommitting, so he isn't going to be punished too hard. So really good foresight on Flipstip's part to have a set of glaives positioned there. I'm not sure if you picked that up on radar or not, but ultimately worked out very well for him. Now, look at this, is fairly interesting, I think. Fealthas has come straight out west from his factories, built a light position here on the hill, and then he's actually making a sort of a perimeter with defenses here and expanding around the back with his comms, sort of looping back. So he's established a very light but certainly present perimeter here with these defenders, and now he's just going to be very quickly capturing these metal extractors with his commander. He's had one constructor back here at base building energy. Could be using this guy for something, just putting it into action now. Heading up to the west, probably to start expanding there. He could certainly take this metal extractor and then head out to the corners probably. I would say it's time for that, although Fealthas is likely to screen again. Fealthas has taken this rear corner. Since Fealthas also had some glaives up here in the northeast, it looks like Flipstip has held off on that. He has a constructor here, actually just reclaiming another light engagement here. Ooh, nice pickup from Fealthas. They're able to take out those constructors, and Flipstip actually coming in, raiding for a constructor of his own. So this is quite the mirror matchup so far. Economically, we are seeing Flipstip pull further ahead now, or actually he was just using reclaim. So look at that, the economy, the natural economy, is very much neck and neck. Military value, looks like Flipstip has quite a bit more military, at least relative to Fealthas, but Fealthas has almost twice as much of an investment here in stacked defenses. So very much playing out to the, stereotypical style for each player. And we are seeing the warrior come out from Fealthas, looking to take advantage of his his opponent's investment in glaives. And just pure glaive span so far. No warriors, no Rockos, just one Rocco out of the factory just now from Flipstip. So we are going to see a bit of a transition into a mid-game composition, I would imagine here. Very large force of glaives coming in from Flipstip, trying to thin out his opponent's glaive ball there. One scythe coming along with the attack party. Now, that's kind of an interesting thing. I don't really see that too much, so I'm interested to see how that works out. Unfortunately, Flipstip is actually just suicided most of his units here right into Fealthas' base, so this glaive looks like he's going to be holding back, now diving in. That's really unfortunate, losing such a large glaive ball running in there. They actually didn't even engage this warrior, so it looks like it was just bad local positioning that thinned out the forces there. Now this scythe is going to try to run away, might get picked up by the glaive here, and yeah, certainly going to get taken out by that warrior. Another pack of glaives coming in from Fealthas. These constructors scrambling to get the LT up in time, just barely able to take out one of the glaives, but unfortunately the very last glaive remains. Oh, gets taken out by that Rocco. Excellent shot there from that skirmisher, and these constructors are free to take this reclaim, fortify the position first. One more glaive coming in, but he'll be defended by the glaives that have come to reinforce as well. So just going to be porking up a bit, and whoa, look at that stream of glaives coming in here. One warrior to support it as well. Obviously going to be overwhelming the forces here, and Flipstip should be in a little bit of a panic. I mean, it looks like these glaives might be able to push into the base if they're so inclined. More reinforcements heading out the east side, so as defensively as Fealthas is rumored to play, we are seeing tons of glaive aggression. We saw this in the other game as well. Really good aggression with the glaives to sort of maintain control of the momentum of the game. This worked out so well for him so far. He's definitely at an advantage. He doesn't even really need to attack very aggressively as much as he just needs to hold Flipstip into position here. Just by denying Flipstip this sort of southeastern patch of metal extractors, it's going to work out really well for him. Flipstip now in a bit of desperation, probably desperation I meant to say, is trying for the air switch 11 seconds before the factory's up, but it looks like these glaives are going to be able to tear it apart before then. In fact, they're just going to focus down on the constructor, then these caretakers moving into LT range. No, go ahead and come back and maybe sneak into the factory here. No, shutting down the energy economy for Flipstip. Wow, really unfortunate turn of events for Flipstip. Really all began when he lost that large mass of glaives into Fealthas' base. He has switched to warriors, and it looks like some Roccos of his own. Let's see from Flipstip here. Rocco 2 glaives, 5 glaives, and just a couple of Roccos. Weird composition. So Flipstip just now, or just about to complete this factory here. Fealthas, on the other hand, has actually had a gunship plan up for quite a while, 15 or just 10 seconds away from having to brawl it up. So very much a repeat of the last game. We saw a pretty quick move out with the commander, assisted by a defender push here. Very common. And then lots and lots of glaive aggression and controlling the momentum, constricting his opponent, raiding out the expansions his opponent did have for the most part. I mean, Flipstip has expanded somewhat naked across this northwest, but Fealthas has denied him this eastern side, which really Flipstip would definitely like to take. It's right outside of his base and has very much been shut down from doing that. And then, of course, once Fealthas decided, or realized rather, that he was in a bit of a lead, he switched over to gunships. And it looks like he's going for the same brawler endgame. Likely to work out just as well as it did last time, I would imagine. Let's see here, these glaives now from Flipstip, trying to make a comeback here, thinning out these forces on the hill somewhat. Really, Flipstip doesn't have any answers to this, or actually no, he does have this air factory complete. He's building Swifts right now to go scout. He might have scouted that gunship factory earlier, but he's really going to need to get some air superiority fighters quickly. There are 2 brawlers up already, so anytime Fealthas wants to head out, he can. He really should have probably head out maybe a minute ago, but looks like Flipstip is very much recovered from that raid that we saw just a bit ago from Fealthas. He has a lot of reclaim accessible that he just needs to get a constructor out to utilize, and then he'll be in a pretty good position. Let's take a look at the economy here. It looks like both players are taking advantage of reclaim at the moment, at least I would imagine. Maybe Fealthas has a bit of a natural income lead here. Both players have air factories up, gunship factory from Fealthas, like I mentioned. A couple of brawlers, though, going to be very difficult for Flipstip to deal with, although he does have, looks like a couple of Hawks up, or Swifts up now, just coming into the base to harass. He does see that there's this gunship factory here. He does see the 1 brawler here in Fealthas' base. I don't think he knows about these 2 brawlers heading up the north side. Now, Fealthas is totally aware that there are Hawks, or Swifts, rather, out on the field, so he's going to be building some AA, I would imagine. Trident's coming up. That is, in fact, the case, so we're going to see a bit of an air superiority fight here. Fealthas is definitely going to want to try and keep these brawlers under lock. Well, actually, no, he's just hanging out to deal as much damage as he can before Flipstip gets his fighters up. Flipstip heading out to the northwest to engage the brawlers, and we are seeing some Hawks flying over this defender nest, so yet another useful application of the defender nest is that it provides some flex AA in the mid-game or late-game air transitions here. Quite a large engagement right at Fealthas' doorstep. I think he's going to be able to defend this. He has the Rockos here for the Warrior. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for him. Worst case scenario, you can just apply some pressure with these gunships here, although these fighters now are coming in. Going to be dealing quite a bit of damage on the brawlers, although the brawlers are tanking it very well. These Tridents just now coming in here. A couple of Tridents should clean up these Hawks, really no problem at all. You can see there's quite a bit of alpha coming from these Tridents. Really the perfect answer to Hawks. These Hawks, despite being air superiority fighters, quote unquote, really just have no chance, especially against a larger mass of Tridents. And Fealthas has very well held this aggression here from Flipstip. Flipstip pouring everything he can and is trying to break through on the south side. I think he needs to try a different approach. Certainly not running through the defender nest, but I mean, he has to also find an answer for this gunship switch, which is really going to be giving him lots of problems. This is kind of frustrating. A recent turn of events is that you build the air factory, you build the air superiority fighters, the things that should like be the best positioned units to fight for air superiority, you would think. And then they just get torn apart by the Tridents. They also get torn apart by Rapiers too if you're not careful. So I think at the moment, as of today, maybe the meta should probably favor the gunship switch, because as you can see here, it handily beats the air switch in everything I've seen in recent memory here. More Hawks flying in. Some Razors here going to do very well to thin out the gunships. I mean, Razors are definitely a great answer against the slow-moving gunships. They have enough DPS to really cause a lot of damage. 2 or 3 Razors is nothing compared to the cost of a large gunship ball. So if you know that the gunships are going to be coming through an area, a couple of redundant Razors, if it takes so long to kill, I mean, they just, if nothing else, will deny the gunships from hanging out in that area. So there's a tip, I guess, for defending against it. Wave after wave, Flipstip is trying to pour into this defense, but Fealthas has such a critical mass, he's not even really taking much in the way of casualties here, so he can defend this, I mean, really indefinitely, I believe. This constructor's now taking advantage of the reclaim here for Flipstip. I'm not seeing any more trump cards coming out. Looks like some napalm bombers to try and thin out this force to allow Flipstip to come in here with his own Cloaky bot force. This brawler now going to be harassing a bit because there's the air superiority. I mean, there's 4 Tridents up now. I really don't think Flipstip's going to find an answer. Even in these 4 Hawks are coming in here. Watch this. I'm sure that these Tridents are going to tear these Hawks apart like nothing. Flipstip is forced to retreat. We're going to lose all of them, and these Tridents chase after, and so, I mean, there's really not much you can do here. It looks like, I mean, how much are one of these Tridents? That I'm really curious. 270, so they're actually cheaper than Hawks, and they beat Hawks for cost. So why would you build Hawks? Why would you build an air switch? If you're going against a competent 1v1 player, you should expect a gunship switch, it looks like, at least for the moment. And these brawlers are just dealing a ton of damage, if nothing else. It's forcing Flipstip to reduce his investment in ground forces, and given the fact that Fealthas sort of came into this with a territorial advantage and an economic advantage, he's really definitely been able to convert that into a huge military advantage at this point. So that is a significant economic advantage this whole time, and so for as long as this sort of slow grind towards Flipstip's base continues, Fealthas is winning, because the longer this goes on, the larger his military advantage becomes. Flipstip really doesn't have any trump cards. I mean, the trump card he tried was that air switch, and it's really not serving him very well. He was trying to push through on the ground, but he's been very much pushed back. So honestly, I would imagine that Flipstip is going to throw in the towel here. I mean, he's got to be feeling right now that there's really just no moving this sort of irresistible force, and Fealthas continues to creep in towards Flipstip's base. There's really, I don't know, I don't see anything coming up that would convince me otherwise. I mean, Fealthas, if he wanted to, could just come out here and expand. There's a couple of gremlins up, it looks like, not even bothering to build the constructors come to it. And wow, look at this. Scorpion coming up, so that's Fealthas' trump card, which is definitely a game ender, I think, if it ever gets completed. But I would imagine Flipstip will be throwing in the towel. I mean, he's definitely going down with a fight here, if nothing else. I mean, these brothers are just going to come through and basically take out all of the mexes over here on the east side. There's nothing even up to the northeast for them to take out. All they would have to do is come up to the northwest here and take out these essentially undefended metal extractors. Fealthas has so much of the map at this point. Flipstip can't even raid him out. He's investing everything he has into just defending this push here. Fealthas has been applying slow, steady pressure the entire time. It looks like Flipstip has managed to thin out all the riot units that were in this ball and then generate some glaives. So this whole time Flipstip has been maneuvering, sort of responding to the composition here. And he has actually managed to push back this ground push anyway. Pure Rocco spam so far from Fealthas. It looks like I might have cut out on the warriors a bit ago, which seems like was a bad choice, but all he has to do is push back here, hold the line until the Scorpion comes up, and it's actually up already. So here we are seeing the Scorpion moving out. These brawlers really still don't have an answer. These gremlins should do pretty well. That's something I should mention. Gremlins have a really nice AI to drink the shots that come down from the brawlers here. So they can actually, I think, 1 versus 1 a brawler. Last time I checked, I'm not too current on that meta, but you can do very well with gremlins against brawlers, especially for cost. We are seeing some hammers coming out now from Flipstip as well to try and thin out this defender forest. Definitely a great answer, but they're going to need either line of sight or really good radar on those defenders. Maybe just a gremlin to scout would be the perfect call there, but it looks like Flipstip is going to be devoting quite a bit of attention here, trying to hold this ball of cloakies once again with the brawler support. Like I said, this is really just not a good position for Flipstip. He was able to push back Fealthas' wave of cloakies there for a little bit, while Fealthas regrouped essentially, and now that Fealthas has the right units, Flipstip is once again pushed back. Basically, Fealthas just needs to deny Flipstip from access to this reclaimed field. Now, Flipstip is definitely doing everything he can to get as much income as possible, but at this point he's at just under half actually of Fealthas' production. So, well, it's probably going to end any minute here from Flipstip. I mean, especially once the Scorpion makes its way over to the base. This Scorpion completely idle at the moment. There we go. Just now re-entering commission. Looks like he's on fight move up to the top of this hill. I mean, honestly, he could just move over to the base here, and that would end the game. These brawlers as well could probably just push in with the tridents themselves. I think Fealthas is being a bit too passive here. He's had a game-ending force essentially the entire time, but you might be expecting Flipstip to have something up his sleeve. Flipstip could have had a bit more income to fight this with. He never actually cleared out these glaives in the northeast, it looks like, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, he was constrained pretty early on by Fealthas' slow push, and then of course, Fealthas is really quite good aggression with his glaives. I think they did a really good job of sort of asserting control of the momentum early on. And there's the GG from Flipstip, feeling that he's sort of lost, being very much ground down by the slow push here from Fealthas. And then, of course, once he saw the Scorpion, there really wasn't much left to say about it, I would imagine here. I see the exponential growth from Fealthas. Flipstip, I mean, he was able to keep up reasonably well. You know, you definitely can't slight performance like this. This is really good, especially considering how Fealthas had control, like I was mentioning earlier. So Flipstip was doing well to get the reclaim, to develop economically, but ultimately I think a few things lost it for him. I think he let, of course, Fealthas sort of dig in to this northwestern corner. He didn't make the very common mistake of suiciding a military into the defenses here. He definitely worked his way around that. He did force Fealthas to switch very quickly into a riot composition so that he could sort of keep up. I think Flipstip might have had the advantage in the Raider game. I'm not too sure. I'd have to watch it again to say for sure or not, but really there was quite a bit of Raider pressure being applied to Fealthas, so switching over to the Warriors was definitely good given his more defensive strategy, and then of course he just hunkered down and made the gunships. I think one thing that definitely didn't go well for Flipstip was the air switch. So frustrating. I totally understand. Same thing happens to me. I mean, Hawks just lose to Tridents. That's the way it is, I guess, at least for the moment. And then, of course, when I think one of the key moments here was when Flipstip had a very large force of glaives, remember earlier, and then he came over this hill, and for a reason I didn't really entirely understand, sort of broke up his forces a bit too much maybe, but ultimately was just, well, out-microed maybe a bit by Fealthas here in the base, and he lost a very large force, and then that gave Fealthas tons of reclaim right in his base, and maybe it was a bit of an overcommitment with his forces, but honestly, from a spectator's view, I expected Flipstip to win that engagement, so I was really surprised to see Fealthas come out on top. But either way, he lost his military at a critical moment, and then Fealthas was able to counterpush, excuse me, up here to the eastern side. And then, of course, we did see the very nice raids continuously throughout the game. Fealthas always making sure to at least, be a bee in the bonnet of Flipstip here as he expanded out to the eastern side. He pretty much left this northwestern expansion unpunished, but ultimately it didn't matter. Really, just being able to take so much territory, and really importantly, I can't stress it enough. I know he built a lot of defenses, but he made sure to maintain control of the momentum, making sure that Flipstip had to keep his glaives back here at the base to defend against Fealthas' mini raids, which is hard to do against a player like Flipstip, who is certainly no slouch, and so I certainly respect Fealthas' game there. I really enjoyed that one. I felt like that was a very technical game, very informative. Always great to see such good players go head-to-head here on an interesting map like this. So I really enjoyed that. Hope you guys did as well. I'll catch you all next time.